our Math Circle Senior Beginner Lecture Note video. Today we are going over perimeter and area. So we'll look at measuring segments, area, and finally circles. So let's start with measuring segments. So this right here is a line segment AB. And if we take a ruler out and we measure it, we get 6 inches. Now this is not to scale. So we would write AB equals 6 without the bar on top. So now let's look at midpoint. The midpoint is halfway between the endpoints of a line segment. So for this line segment right here, the midpoint would be right about here. Let's call this point M. So point M is the midpoint of line segment AB. Now congruent segments are when segments have the same length. So if you look right here, line segment AM and MB are congruent because they're equal to each other. And we can write that on the line by using these dash marks. So when they both have the matching dash marks, each one, then that means that those two segments are congruent. So now let's move on to perimeter. So the perimeter of something is the length of the boundary of a closed figure. So in a polygon, the perimeter is the sum of the length of its sides. So let's look at this example right here with the rectangle. So rectangle has a length L and a width W. So to find the perimeter, we're going to add L, and since we know L over here, same as L over here, and W over here, same as W over here. So do L plus W, which is equivalent to 2L plus 2W. Now let's look at this example. Farmer Fred wants to fence the oddly shaped region shown. If each of the squares shown has sides that are 10 feet long, and a fence costs $7 per foot, then how much will Fred's fence cost? So first, let's look at this figure, and let's try to figure out the perimeter. Just think about the units, don't think about the 10 feet yet. So if I count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So the perimeter is 18 units. Now we need to factor in the 10 feet per square side. So since each side of the square is 10 feet, we can just do 18 times 10, which gives us 180 feet. Now we have to see the cost. So since it's $7 per foot, we do 180 times 7 to get $1,260. So now let's move on to triangles. So there are 3 types of triangles. Equilateral triangles, where all sides have the same length, as shown here. Then we have isosceles triangles, where only 2 sides have the same length, as shown right here. And then we have scalene, and that's when no sides have the same length, as shown right here. So let's look at an example. Suppose an isosceles triangle has a perimeter of 45, and the length of each leg is twice the length of the base. What is the length of the base? So before we start off, we know that the base is going to be the one side that isn't congruent, and the legs are going to be the 2 sides that are congruent. So, since we know that each leg is going to be twice the length of the base, we can use variables to solve this. So I'm going to put x for the base. Then for each leg, since I know it's going to be twice as much as the base, I'm going to put 2x for each leg. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them up, since that's how you find the perimeter. So 2x plus x equals 5x. And since we already know the perimeter equals 45, we can make that equal to 45. So 5x equals 45. Then we're going to isolate the variable to get x equals 9. So a really important principle is a triangle inequality. For any 3 points A, B, and C, we have AB plus BC is going to be greater than or equal to AC. We have AB plus BC equals AC if and only if B is on AC. So now let's move on to area. So the area of a figure is the measure of space that's contained inside the closed figure. So let's look at this example right here. Here we have a square, and one side is 1 unit long and the other side is another unit long. So together we'd say that this square has an area of 1 unit squared, or 1 square unit. So notice how we got the area. We multiplied one side by the other side. So for rectangles, that's all you have to do. You're just going to multiply the length times the width. So the area of a rectangle is always going to be length times width. Now remember, it has to be one side here and one side here. You can't do width times width or length times length. Now for triangles, the area is base times height times 1/2. Now you could say this because if you look at a rectangle and you cut it in half, you get 2 triangles. So that's why it's the base times the height times 1/2. So some extra information about triangles is that the line that cuts through, like the height right here, and is vertical to the base is going to be called the altitude. And a line that cuts exactly halfway between the base is called the median. Now if you have three altitudes inside a triangle that meet up at a point, that point is called the orthocenter, right here. So let's do an example. Let's say that two people want to paint a wall. So here we have one wall, and here we have another wall. And let's assume that these are both the same size. Let's say that this is going to be 18 feet long and 8 foot wide. So one person, let's call him John, wants to paint his wall this way with the triangle in blue. This other person, let's call him Joe, wants to paint his wall this way. So let's try to find the area of each wall, or each area that's blue. So, since this has the same values, you can just use this. So the area of this triangle is going to be 1/2 times base times height. And the base is just going to be the side of the rectangle. As we know, it's 8 feet. So we're going to say area equals 1/2 times 8. And we need the base. So the base is going to be just like this side right here of the rectangle, so 18 feet. So the area is 1/2 times 8 times 18, which is equivalent to 72. Remember to add units, so this would be feet squared. We can also say square feet. Now for Joe, let's try to find the altitude, or the height. So if you really think about it, the height is the same as the side of a rectangle. So area is going to equal 1/2 times height, which is going to be 8, times the base. And if you look at the base, it's the same as one side of the rectangle, the length side. So do times 18, that's going to equal 72 feet squared. That's our answer. So both of these have the same area. So now let's move on to circles. This right here is a circle. It has a fixed distance, as shown. So the center of a circle is the middle of a circle, right here. Now the radius of a circle is a point that goes from the center to the edge of the circle. So radius can go anywhere around the circle. Now diameter goes from one point of the circle to another point on the circle, and it crosses through the center. And as you can see right here, the diameter is just twice the radius. There's a radius here and a radius here. So 2r equals d. Now a sector is a section or a slice from a circle using 2 radius in the area between. 2 radii in the area between. So the circumference of a circle is a perimeter of the circle. And you can find this in 2 ways. You can do 2 pi r, or since you know that 2r equals d, you can just say pi d. Next, to find the area, you can do pi r squared. Let's look at these examples. What's the radius of a circle with a circumference of 54 pi? So since we know the equation for the circumference of a circle is going to be 2 pi r, we can just say 2 pi r equals 54 pi, since that's the circumference. Next, we're going to isolate the variable, and the variable right here is r. Now pi is a constant, and it's equal to 3.14, but since it already has pi in both sides, and when we divide by 2 pi it cancels out, we don't have to worry about that. So we just do 54 pi divided by 2 pi, which equals 27, and that's our radius. Next, if 1 gallon of paint can paint the interior of a circle with diameter equal to 10 meters, then what is the diameter of the largest circle whose interior I can paint with 4 gallons of paint? So first, since we know the diameter is 10 meters, we know the radius is half of that. It's 5 meters. Next, we're going to find the area. So pi r squared, 5 squared, 25. So 25 pi. Then what we're going to do is do 25 times 4, because we want to do it times 4 gallons, and this is just for 1. So 25 pi times 4 equals 100 pi. Now 100 pi is going to be the area of the circle with 4 gallons, and we want to find the radius. So we do 100 pi equals the equation of the area of a circle, so pi r squared. So then we cancel out the pi by dividing this side by pi and this side by pi, making it 100 equal to r squared. Then we find the square root of one side and the square root of the other side to get 10 meters as our radius. So now let's go over some challenge problems. Number 1. In the diagram below, rectangle ABCD and right triangle BCE have the same area. Find the ratio of AE to AB. So first, we know that the area of the rectangle is going to be equal to AB times BC. And we know the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 times BE times BC. So now we can say that AB is going to be equal to BE over 2. Then we know that BE is going to be equal to 3AB. Next, we know that AE is going to equal to AB plus BE, which is equal to 3AB. Next, we can put AE over AB, which gives us 3AB over AB, and if we cancel these out, we just get 3. Now, for number 2, in the diagram below, all three triangles are equilateral. Point D is the midpoint of AC, and point G is the midpoint of AE. If AB equals 4, then what is the perimeter of AB, C, D, E, F, G? So we're going to find the perimeter of this whole thing. So since we know that AB is going to be equal to 4, and BC, then we know that BC is going to be equal to 4 because it's equilateral. And then since the midpoint cuts the base in half, we know that DC and DA are both going to be equal to 2. And this repeats over here. We get 2, 2, and then this is going to be cut in half, so we get 1, 1, 1. So when you add all those up, we get 14. So next problem. Carrie determined that swimming the length of a rectangular pool 60 times is the same distance as swimming its perimeter 18 times. What is the ratio of the width to the length of the swimming pool? So since we're trying to find a ratio, we're trying to find a fraction of width over length. So first I'm going to write an equation for this. We know that 60L is going to be equal to 18 times 2L plus 2W. This is the perimeter. So then we can distribute this 16. Let's say 60L is going to equal to 36L plus 36W. Then we're going to do some math, move this 36L over here to minus 60 minus 36L to give us 24L is equal to 36W. Next, we're going to put 24 over 36 and put W over L. So 24 over 36 equals W over L, and to simplify that, we get 2/3, and that's our answer. So thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you have any questions, you can email info@agoramathcircle.org or comment below and we'll reply back. Maybe. And if you want to see practice things or anything about us, you can visit our website, which is basically the end of the email but without the info and the end. So bye!